And welcome. You are watching and listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. It's 6:15:21. And, well, you might think that you want to go back to normal, the old normal, and maybe there's certain things about the old normal that you and I would prefer to resume. But in some ways, believe it or not, you could be better off now with the new normal than the old normal. The article written by our good friend Charles Hugh Smith, and you find him at of2minds.com, pretty much pointing out the things that were wrong with the old normal and why we should be embracing a new normal. Hey, what are your thoughts? Do you want the old normal back, or do you want a better normal? Why don't you send an email to me, kl@kerrylutz.com. That's the email address. Charles, great to have you back on. It's been too long, and hopefully you made it through the pandemic and you're now embracing the new normal.
Thank you, Kerry. Yeah, it's my pleasure to be on with you again, and I'm appreciative of you picking up this topic because, of course, you're a big metals, minerals guy, and that's really where the future is that we're going to have to transition away from the easy, cheap oil, which is mostly depleted, and move into a new world of energy. And I think we can look forward to saying we're going to move from wasteful consumption to like efficiency, and I think that that's actually a growth industry. We have a lot of waste in our system. And so I think the new normal is let's be more efficient with the resources we have. And let's decentralize and relocalize stuff, and instead of being dependent on central banks, central governments, and huge workplaces, with a bunch of worker bees in cubicles, I think there's a lot of efficiencies to be gained from some of the things that happened in the COVID pandemic.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So the old normal, for many of you out there, was really comfortable. It was easier living, perhaps, than the new normal will be, but it came at a cost, didn't it, Charles?
Right. And on the other hand, a lot of people were working ridiculously hard, getting up, with early, super long commutes, terrible problems juggling childcare and all this kind of stuff. And in other words, life was not easy for a lot of people. And so I think a lot of people had that sort of period of quiet in their lives where they said, wow, is this really the best I can make use of my life? Or is this the best path to my goals? And then the answer was no, right? Like I'm working harder and getting less money, for various reasons. And I'm so busy. I just, I've got no time for living, so I hope we have a more human scale life, that's another avenue to explore.
And look how many of you out there were really, like you said, you're in soul-killing traffic. You're commuting an hour each way. You're having to trust your children to childcare of dubious quality, not being able to spend as much time with your family, although for some of you out there, maybe that was preferable, but for most of us, not so much. Now you've been forced to reunite with your family, your community, because you weren't allowed to go outside your community. And even within the community, it was difficult. And then the concept of wearing masks was really a means of further isolating you from your community, your friends, and your family to some extent. So maybe now we're going to be better off.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of lifestyle choices. And then there's, I think, a larger scale energy transition we're talking about, like, that we all know that our whole society for the last, 40, 50 years has been like focused on consumption. The more consumption, the better. And it's all like, well, what about being productive? What about producing wealth? And that's been put aside, right? We've offshored lots of productivity and essentials, right? We now depend on other countries for cobalt and lithium and a ton of minerals and metals, but also for parts, right? Semiconductors and all this, many of the other essential components. And so I think people might be awakening to the national security implications of having offshored tremendous amounts of our industrial capacity and essentials to countries that may or may not be our friends. Frenemies are fine, but do you really want to have your entire economy dependent on whether your frenemies are going to let you have their cobalt?
Yeah, or their rare earths, or
Yeah,
all sorts of other things. You
yeah,
know, like I said, we were talking pre-call. I had COVID. People don't talk about how many of you who had COVID, like me, and your health is better now because you've refocused on it. The important things: reducing stress, eating healthier, locally produced foods, and just rejecting the great agro-industrial complex, which produces all sorts of things that basically are slowly killing you. And that's what I came to realize from COVID more than anything else, that hey, if you're overweight, if you've got high blood sugar, type 2 diabetes, and all of these other ailments, it's all because of the old normal and the things that were being fed to you that passed for food but really weren't. So that's something that I think many of you out there can really profit from.
yeah, absolutely, Kerry. We all know that the big ag food industry that you describe is good at putting out unhealthy food, because that's what their highest profit margins are, on a bunch of unhealthy stuff. And there's a lot of good research out there that you dug into about deep nutrition, and it basically boils down to just eat real food. Don't eat anything that's been processed. It boils down to that. And so obviously there's potential for growth there, and we see it in local communities that are trying to encourage local food production. And I just was watching something on C-SPAN, but about the city of Detroit, which is actually leading the way in a lot of ways to urban agriculture. That they've got like 30,000 volunteers, harvesting food in the local gardens within the city limits of Detroit. So I think there's a lot of potential, not just in agricultural zones, but even in cities. So another growth industry, if you will, that would really help everybody's health.
A renewable growth industry, because food is the ultimate renewable resource. I look back and I said, man, I was really taken. Those pretzels I love, cereal, sugar. Sugar is just poison to your body over the long term. That doesn't mean you can't have a piece of cake here and there or an ice cream cone. Hey, but it can't be part of your lifestyle. Charles, when you and I were growing up, if you wanted a Coca-Cola, that was kind of a delicacy. The idea of having a six-pack of Coke a day never entered into it. And then even then, the Coke was healthier. It used real sugar cane, not this high fructose corn syrup. And basically, big food, they want you to eat stuff that really they've destroyed the flavor of. So they add back stuff like sugar and like so many other things we consume, chemicals in there, coloring, preservatives, uh, refined carbohydrates like flour. All these things are really injurious to your health over the long haul. And maybe, just maybe, the pandemic has kind of really shown a light, or as they call it, has lifted the veil, apocalypse, the lifting of the veil of what was really happening in our world and in your lives, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Kerry. And I think that's a silver lining that could really pay dividends, because the other industry that benefits from us being ill and having a poor lifestyle is, of course, the healthcare quote industry, which I call sick care. Not that the people working in there aren't doing their very best to make everybody healthier, but the industry itself is benefits and profits from passing out a lot of medications to solve things that, like, people like you solved by changing your diet and lifestyle. And so, you really are hurting big pharma here, because they were planning to make like $10,000, $15,000, maybe $100,000 a year off of you, for handing out prescribing a huge array of medicines or medications for you to not really alleviate the source of those diseases, but just to alleviate the symptoms, right? And so that's an industry that needs to be reformed, uh, just like the food big ag industry.
That's so true. The average person my age, I'm 63, takes 6 prescription medications. So I've eliminated, I think, 2 or 3 of them. And so I'm down to 3. There's one that I absolutely can't stop taking. I don't want to go into the nitty gritty details of it, but at this point, for now, I can't really stop it. My goal is to get rid of all of them. I was spending upwards $150 a month on sick care, and it wasn't addressing the underlying symptoms, the underlying causes, which was my diet. And I always exercise pretty well, so that was a plus. But you can't control your weight through exercise alone. Diet is essential. That's what, again, it illustrated for me. And hey, if Big Pharma's got to take a hit, I really feel bad for them, but they'll have to find some things that really help people and really cure things rather than going on long-term sick, unhealthy maintenance, which is what most of these drugs, heart medications, blood sugar, diabetes medications, all these things, that's what they really do, is just make you a captive consumer to Big Pharma till death do you part.
Well said. That's exactly that's exactly the business plan. In terms of the old normal too, is, we're reading a lot of stories about people who are changing their careers or their work life. And that's why we've got like 9+ million job openings. And it's all like, well, why isn't everybody rushing to take the old job at lousy pay and horrible working conditions? And it's all like, well, because they figured out some other way to do it, right? And there's a lot of openings in the U.S. for people to do some other choice other than, spend a full-time job at low pay, poor benefits. And then that sets up all these health conditions we talk about, because when you're tired and stressed out and you barely get yourself home, then of course you're more prone to eating processed foods and not taking care of yourself, because you literally don't have the time and energy to take care of yourself. So I think it's a really positive thing that people are refusing to take jobs that aren't paying enough to live on, have really poor working conditions, high stress, and they're finding other jobs, or they're trying to gain skills to acquire higher levels, or they're working the gig economy, or the informal economy. They're finding some other way to get by. And I think it's a good thing, because I think the balance of labor and capital has been totally skewed to capital, right, for decades. I mean, there was a big RAND study that I've been referring to for the last 6 months that found that a study of income, and capital in the United States from 1970s to the present, like $50 trillion got transferred from labor to capital. $50 trillion, that's a lot of money, even in today's world. And so I think that would be another positive. The old normal was, you were supposed to go to work and not think about, your own life. You were supposed to sacrifice yourself for corporate America. And it's all like, well, wait a minute. Are there some other ways to live here that are better for the labor force, even if it's less profitable for, corporations?
And maybe here, when we look at the Tesla, yeah, it's great, cool car. It's got a lot of technology, a lot of features. But one thing that Elon Musk is not doing to those cars is building in obsolescence. And I think in many ways, that's got the car industry and other industries more freaked out than anything else, because those cars could very well go for 1 million miles or more. And maybe you want a new car because you want it, you've been programmed. But look what Elon Musk has done. He eliminated the model year as this catalytic, damn near orgiastic event in the auto industry. Like, everything revolved around the new year, the new model year. Like, you got brighter tail lights and cooler looking headlights, and you got tail fins going back to the 50s and 60s when we grew up. And now all of that is kind of going to be gone. And I don't know that the cars won't look cool again. I mean, I think some of these EVs look really cool. But if I've got my choice of one car that'll go 1 million miles and the other car that'll go 250,000 with a lot of maintenance, I'll probably opt for the 1,000,000 mile car, even if I'm not going to hold it for 1,000,000 miles, because let's say I only want it for 200,000, then I'll sell it. It'll still be worth something. Charles, just think of PCs. Uh, if you had a PC, a notebook computer that's 5 years old, and you want to go to sell it, you're lucky to get $100. But if you have an Apple, which in many ways isn't really any better than a regular PC, it is a PC, but in many ways it retains its value. I've sold them 5 years later for 50% of what I paid, Charles. And there's actually a market for a good product, a secondary market for which the other, a PC is a throwaway now, right? But an Apple is not a throwaway. Obviously, it costs twice as much, but they do seem to last. So I think corporate America has been, in the search of short-term profits, has thrown away the opportunity that could be realized from making high-quality products that last more than one cycle, you know?
No, I think you make an excellent point, Kerry, and I think that's another an entire like structural shift in the economy that would benefit the everyone and the economy itself. And I've gone on my blog about like appliances that start rusting within months, right? Because the
Yeah.
paint is microscopic thin. They don't even use a good primer, so the thing looks ugly, and then you're supposed to replace it. Or cheap components, like little sensors that cost like $2 or $3 fail, and then people are throwing out like $1,000 appliance because the repair is $500, and all of that is just it's like an erosion of quality and durability that we've come to accept. But as you point out, it's not by any means necessary or positive.
Yeah. And really, we could see a whole trend here in society where we actually build products to last. Uh, I think we're in an early infancy of it, but if they eliminate built-in obsolescence in cars here, and they actually have an incentive to do it, because assuming the trend really is legitimate and we do switch to electric vehicles, they're going to have so much demand for those vehicles. They won't have to be thinking about how we get the person, well, it's got a new infotainment system that will interface with your phone, all of these things, which are good in their own right, but really quality in a product that has a tenth of the moving parts of its predecessor. Just on those grounds alone, we could be looking at higher quality. This could become a complete trend across the globe, and probably going to be better off. And now, look, your dishwasher dies, your washing machine, your refrigerator. You can't just go to Best Buy or Home Depot or Lowe's and just get a new one, and then really can't get a new one. Yeah, it takes 6 months to come in, and you're having to pay some guy a bribe to smuggle you in a refrigerator before. You got to pay a couple $100 to get them to deliver it tomorrow. I mean, it seemed to be our God-given right as Americans to be able to buy an appliance, a refrigerator, and have it delivered the next day. But that seems to be going by the wayside as well.
Yeah, as you say, the global supply chains, everyone thinks that's going to go back to quote normal. I don't think they ever will go back to normal. There's been structural changes in the global economy, and so if we reshore industry, especially of components, and demand quality, and then that's gonna be a big boost for the economy, in terms of efficiency and making better use of our time and resources. It's just kind of common sense, isn't it? But we waste so much of that, and so and it's going to be good for the national security. I mean, I think it's absolutely insane to depend upon other nations for your essential components and materials. I mean, it's just like leaving us incredibly vulnerable to geopolitical blackmail, if you will, or disruption. And so one last point is, I'm not a big fan of huge government regulations, but I think that there's some potential there to improve, like we're talking about efficiencies. everything should be recyclable, including lithium ion batteries, right? 98% of them are just thrown away right now because they're not assembled and manufactured in ways that they can be recycled. So, we need to do a little bit more about that. So if we're going to electrify the economy, we got to make sure that the batteries are recyclable and reusable.
Yeah, things like battery recycling, and Tesla has designed their cars with that in mind. And there's an industry popping up that will take Tesla batteries, figure out what's wrong, batteries that are wrong, get rid of them, put in the new ones, recycle the old ones, because the lithium doesn't go bad. It's just the uh, catalyst, I guess, the cathodes that wear down, and the batteries. But even the Tesla Roadster, the first model, you can have a few cells go bad, but the idea of a cascading failure of all the cells, and there could be there could be thousands in a vehicle, that never happened with the Tesla battery pack. And they're all shaking their heads saying, hey, some of these packs got 1,000,000 miles on them, and they're still, well, they degrade a little bit over time, but not as much as they said they were going to. It's not like the battery in your cell phone, which from the day you get it, every day it holds a charge a little less, till one day it's 50%. The cars have been much better. So battery recycling and resource recycling are really definitely in the cards for the US and for the country and the world at large, I should say.
I hope so. And I think that's the future. And so it's like we sort of think that growth has to come from waste. And it's all like, no, growth can come from making better use of stuff, and making better use of our time. And that's, so I think that's efficiency and a better lifestyle or growth industries, and that's not a common perspective, but I mean, isn't it common sense?
Common sense, because pollution is waste, and companies that manage to reduce pollution see their profits go higher. And as individuals, if we can reduce our own personal waste, we'll see our standard of living get better as well. There's no reason to be replacing your washer, your dryer, your refrigerator every 3 years. I remember my parents had a refrigerator, I think it was 40 years old, and it was still working when they sold the house and left it with the house. It was a Norge refrigerator, if you remember that brand, a well-known brand from the 40s and 50s, sold the house in 1984, and that thing was still chugging along. So and the original refrigerator that came with the house, an Admiral refrigerator, that was still chugging along fine. So really, we once did it. There's no reason we can't do it again. And the idea of making things higher tech but crummier is really not what the future is. Well, we'll see. When you start keeping your cell phone for 5 years, then we'll know that the true new era, the new age of quality, has reemerged. Charles, what can we look forward to from you? Books. What's your latest book, and what are you working on?
Yeah, my latest book was on the whole idea of my idea for a labor-backed cryptocurrency and a new kind of incentive for working within the community. So that's kind of my focus, is looking ahead to new models for work that's helping the community and helping individuals more than the system we have now.
All right. Well, we always appreciate your books and your prolific work. Really make a solid contribution to everything and the new normal that we're talking about. But like in every transition, there will be pain for some of you or many of you out there. But in the long run, this has to be an improvement. The age of consumerism, of consuming for the sake of consuming, conspicuous consumption, and ostentatiousness, as far as I'm concerned, the sooner it goes, the better. Just go check out Charles's site, of2minds.com. Check out Amazon or wherever fine books used to be sold to get his books. And if you got a question for Charles, send it to me, kl@kerrylutz.com. I'll send it over to him. And don't forget, sign up for our free newsletter, financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Charles, thanks so much for coming on. We won't let so much time pass till our next discussion.
Thank you so much, Kerry.